Hi, everybody. Welcome back to this week's episode of Mentally Motivational. Thank you for watching last week's episode, and I'm excited for today. I will be talking to you guys about iPhones and their effects on mental health and teenagers, and also about social media, its positive and negative effect. Today, I will be talking to a doctor and my mom, both two in one. So without further ado, let's get started. Hi, Mom.
Hi,
How are you doing?
doing fine. Happy to be here.
Okay, we're happy to have you. Can you please introduce yourself before we get started?
Sure, I'm Marjan Askar, and I'm a pediatric emergency doctor. And that means that I work in the emergency room and taking care of children. And I'm also Dario's mom.
Yes. So, Mom, today, as you know, we're going to be talking about the iPhone and its negative effects on teenagers and mental health as well as social media. So, let's just jump right into it. To start, what are some patterns that you see with teenagers on their cell phones as a parent and as a doctor?
I think that the biggest thing that I've noticed is that the new generation that is really pretty much has become bombarded and drowning with social media is that they are extremely self-absorbed and really aren't able to see the bigger picture or how they could contribute to the world. When I feel that the new generation now more than any time needs to be extremely aware of what's going on in the world and needs to focus on not just themselves but on the community and their peers, etc. So that's the biggest pattern I think that I see is just this self-absorbed individual that sort of does everything for themselves, because of themselves, and everything is just about them. Nobody else really even comes into consideration.
I agree with you because as a teenager, I've also seen a lot of people being self-absorbed with all these social media things. What are some examples of the bigger pictures that you mentioned that we should be noticing around us?
Well, I mean, with the biggest thing is just the division of our country. There's a lot of people that are taking sides, and I think that the young people have a responsibility to decide that that's not the right way to be, and that you guys should do something to change that. And you might think you're too young and your voices aren't heard, but really you're the next generation, so this is going to impact you guys much more than it impacts our generation, right? Yet
Right.
your generation is just so self-absorbed, and into their devices that I don't even think that thought occurs to them in terms of how they could help the population or how they could help the world and how could it be a more livable and a kinder place to be. I don't even know when the last time it was that a teenager thought about that.
Yeah, I agree. And again, I've seen it because everyone's so caught up in the likes and the social media and just everything in the social circle, and they're not seeing anything really in the bigger world outside of them. Um, what are some ways do you think that teenagers can start to notice that? Because once habits form, it's hard to get rid of them. So, how do you think that we can start getting off of social media and focus on the more important things in life?
I think that I don't think that getting off the social media per se is the answer. I think that social media can be a very effective tool in helping you guys hear voices of each other and to come together about decisions of how you can help your peers and your community and other people that may not have all the resources that you have available to you. So I'm not really advocating getting off of social media, but I am advocating to use the social media in a sense that could raise awareness and bring people together, as opposed to me and my own group and let me post a picture of where I went and what I ate and where I vacationed. And I just don't know why anybody else cares where anybody vacations. I don't. I couldn't care less where 10 of my friends are on vacation. It just doesn't matter to me. And I just don't know why the youth feels like, I'm seeing people taking pictures of themselves. And when I wonder, why are you doing that? Is to post it on such and such social media. Like, what happens if the person that's seeing the social media can afford to be in that place that you're in? Have you ever thought about that? That maybe it's a front that people put in. You don't know what's going on in people's lives. And I don't think it's correct for you to flaunt everything you have and for it to be this bubble about, oh, look at me, look at me, look at where I am, look at what I'm doing. Who cares? You should care about what you're doing, and you're with your family, and you should enjoy your time. But I don't know why the rest of the world needs to know about that. I don't.
That's a really good point. And going right off of that, how you said no one really needs to know. You don't know what's going on inside of people's lives. What do you think are the negative mental health aspects about people constantly posting, both for the poster and maybe for the person seeing the post?
I mean, I just think that if you look at the definition of narcissism, in fact, I'm going to read it for you because I don't know how to say it as well as a Webster dictionary might.
Okay,
But
sounds good.
so let's see. So here, 10 narcissism behaviors, signs and symptoms. This is off of a medical website, actually. So, and it actually has a picture of the brain and it tells you. So give me just 1 second, please. So
Okay.
narcissism is a kind of self-regard that is overly focused on the ego. People with this condition are almost unable to feel empathy for other people and are often overconfident to conceal their delicate self-esteem,
Oh,
right?
wow. Yes.
So I really feel that I unfortunately feel that more than ever, and I've been doing this now for 20 years, right? More than ever, I unfortunately see a lot of kids that are not self confident, that have issues with themselves, that have issues with who they are and how they interact with each other. And they're just obsessed with using the social media for the wrong reasons. And so the implication of being on a social media constantly and it's this me, is that we're sort of breeding the next generation of a lot of people that are very self-absorbed. And the effects on the society, it's like, imagine if you were just self-absorbed and I was self-absorbed and my neighbor was self-absorbed. We don't really get to know each other, right? We don't really know how you feel as a community.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I think that you were talking about the mental health aspects of it. Again, I think that when, if you look at the definition of people that feel no empathy for anyone, what kind of a society is that, right? Like, that's the definition of a psychopath, is that they have no empathy for any other people. Like, it's all about them. They feel no sadness, no sorrow, no joy, nothing about anything that they may do or may not do. And I think it's something that people have to learn, to be mindful of other people's feelings, other people's needs, other people in different countries, even other people in the next county. I mean, we live in this amazing area. And the biggest thing is that our kids feel like this is the end all be all. This is not what the real world is. This is not what life is all about. It's not all about going on vacations and jumping up and down and posting pictures of yourselves. You guys are the next generation. Everything that you think is wrong with the world, you can change. And it all comes from feeling it with your heart that there's something wrong with it and changing it. And as I'm talking to you, I want you guys to reflect, when was the last time you thought about any of this? How does the Black Lives Matter affect you guys? I want to know that. What are your thoughts about that? What are your thoughts about how our nominees for presidential debate each other? What are your thoughts about respect or lack of respect that you see on the media? When was the last time people thought about any of that, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I see it in my own, really, with my children and with my patients. We forget the very minute deals that we have to do daily because we're constantly self-absorbed in our apps and in our phones. If you can't even remember to give an example, clean the stand off of your feet before you get into somebody's car, how are you supposed to think about the world and its problems? And while in America, teenagers are the times of, happy-go-lucky and just sort of, let's just all be jumping up and down and just have a party, this is not what the real world is.
Exactly.
And if you look around you, there are a lot of teenagers that have to work to support their family. They have to work to help their families. They have to do all kinds of things. And I just feel very sad that kids these days have no idea, none whatsoever. And I feel scared to be a part of a society that is going to have adults that really have been living this way their teenage years. And I hope that we wake up before it's too late, because I worry about the next generation. While they're very savvy electronically, I worry about lack of empathy. I worry about self-absorbed, being self-absorbed, and just lack of concern or care for what else is going on in the world. And that has to has have repercussion of itself that could lead to all kinds of anxiety, depression, because we are really, all of the human beings are part of each other, right? And if one part of you hurt, the other people hurt. And even if you don't realize that, even if you live in a beautiful, perfect bubble, if your mankind is hurting, it will affect you.
Right. And
because human beings are related. We've always been.
And it saddens me too that so many people are just stuck in a bubble, like you said, and they don't understand the bigger problems around them. Like, even me, sometimes I'm always just stuck inside like a posh life bubble, and I don't always see that there are really big problems. Like, if a problem is, oh my gosh, my phone died, like, that's not even a problem. Some people are fighting depression, or like you said, they have to work to support their families. They're struggling financially. Some people don't have a home or a roof over their head or food on the table. Like, these things that so many people just kind of take for granted and are like, yeah, I'm always going to have that. They don't realize that so many people don't have that, and so many people are not nearly, like, even a fraction as privileged as they are. And I think a lot of that is because of social media and just the self absorption that you were talking about, and the failure to see the bigger picture and identify real problems in the world.
I also will tell you that from a doctor's perspective, when people are constantly on social media and constantly flicking, doing with both hands, touching, erasing, going up and down. I mean, the studies have shown that this causes addiction,
Yes.
right? Just like cocaine, just like heroin, just like marijuana, it causes addiction,
Right.
right? And so there is really no difference. You could be addicted to this device or to some drugs, right? We know it's the same neurotransmitters, which are the substances in your brain, are involved in excessive telephone use and excessive social media. So I'm just saying, not at all that you have to put your phones down, but really we tell people drink responsibly when you're of age. Use your phones and social media responsibly. You guys have the world at your fingertips.
Right.
You can look up anything. You could join groups that you are interested in to help humankind and the future generation with a click of a button, right? And people aren't using those features of the social media.
Right.
They're using it for completely wasteful reasons, in my opinion. And no matter how many pictures you post, no matter how many followers you have, no matter how many streaks you send, tomorrow is a new day, and nobody even cares what happened the day before. Nobody cares.
Right.
Nobody cares. Nobody remembers. Nobody cares. It's just time wasted when you could have done something useful with it.
I agree 100%. And especially because in today's day and age, with the help of social media, with all these social pressures in school to be a certain way and look a certain way, so many people are becoming more and more worried with what others think of them. And they're really failing to realize that it's really not that important. And I want to ask you about that next. Of course, as an adult, social media, especially in this day and age, is still important and a part of your world. But looking back now, do you really think that all the follower counts and the likes and all those things are as important as so many teenagers believe them to be?
I mean, I can tell you that. So when I was in high school, we didn't have social media. We didn't have Instagram and whatever you guys have, TikToks and the other one. Uh, what is Daria? What's the other one?
Instagram, yeah.
All that other stuff. We didn't have that, right? And I can tell you that the most popular girl in my graduating high school class sort of went into a profession that is not very highly looked upon. She has no higher education, which I think is okay. Some people do great without higher education, but nobody knows where she is. Nobody cares what she looks like. Nobody cares that she was homecoming queen for 2 years in a row. Nobody cares. And I actually looked at my high school reunion, and people that were so popular, not popular, nerds, geeks, jocks, we all sort of gathered and talked about our families and what we've done, and it just make no difference. It absolutely makes no difference how many followers you have, how many streaks you sent, who left you unopened, who didn't. Nobody cares.
Yes.
It is all very, very fleeting, and it just doesn't matter. It doesn't make any difference.
How do you
It
suggest?
really doesn't make any difference.
Yeah. How do you suggest that people can realize that? Because it's hard when you're so caught up in the hype of social media. How can you just put it aside and realize that this doesn't matter? Do you have any advice, both as a parent and as a doctor or adult even?
I mean, I think that the first step is understanding what I'm saying. There's some merit to it, and it's really your responsibility as young adults, as you're getting that role, to become educated. I can make you do anything, but
Right.
the best thing I can tell you is think for 15 minutes a day, think about what I said. Just think. I understand that friends are important. Nobody said don't have any friends. But again,
Right.
everything in moderation, right? If you think about it, everything in small doses is like taking a medicine when you do it in small doses. When you do it in moderation, it's like eating. And if you do it excessively, it's like poison. Even water, right? If you don't drink enough water, you become dehydrated and you can get really sick and even die. If you have normal amount of water, you keep hydrated, you keep your body going, you flush your toxins out, and it's good for you. We all know that. And there are diseases, actually diseases, that happens when people drink way too much water and they're addicted to water. Again, their electrolytes get very messed up. They could come to the hospital with all kinds of problems, and that's water. So keep yourselves in check, have a balance, use the social media, some of it to catch up with your friends and what's going on, and some of it, maybe if you're spending an hour on it, 15 minutes, try to do something productive with it.
Okay.
Whatever
So,
productive means to you. Or think about people that are your age in other countries. Reach out to them, read about their lives, see what they're going through, see what their worries are. It's not about just Los Gatos. It's such a small portion of the world, and we are the more opulent. We have a chance to really make a difference. And it saddens me that the youth, even though we have so many more resources than I ever had growing up, they are unaware of anything that goes on in the world. They don't think about it. They have no idea, and it basically just waste time wasted. Just that's the way I look at excessive social media use, is time wasted.
speaking of time wasted, another thing that all teenagers experience is school, right? And schoolwork. And we've talked about socialization. Of course, that comes from school as well. But another big portion is the grades, and because that kind of can carve the path to your future. So, how do you think that social media is affecting people in school? Positive, negative, nothing? What are your thoughts about that?
I mean, for example, right? This is a type of a social media, right? I think
Yes.
what we're doing,
Kind
sort
of,
of,
yeah,
like
yeah.
you're podcasting and you're raising awareness. So I'm not really saying that because you're my daughter, but I feel like this is the use of social media in a very um, mindful manner,
Okay.
and using it to raise awareness about the issues. And so I respect that. I don't think this is time wasted.
Right.
So this is a good use of the social media. Taking 17 photos of yourself in different positions when you're at the beach and then posting them is a waste of time, in my opinion, because
Okay.
nobody cares tomorrow.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. How do you think that
Sorry,
affects
I had a call. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
me?
Sorry about that. I didn't mean to interrupt, Dario. Go
Oh,
ahead.
I'm sorry.
Yes.
Um, how do you think that affects schoolwork? Because, like you said, time wasted, right? How does that go? I mean, I know it's obvious, but many people don't really realize that social media is really dragging them down and rotting their brains in a sense. So, what do you have to say about that? Like in correlation to
Well,
school?
I mean, again, and honestly, I don't think that it's something that you should just take my word for it. You guys have everything at your fingertips. You can just Google it.
Right.
Too much use of the social media and clicking up and down and pushing buttons and screen time in general, it's literally addictive like crack cocaine. And you can quote me on that. I'm happy to go on the records. We have a diagnosis code for people that are addicted, not to social media per se, but to like gaming and different methods of screen time. We actually have a diagnosis for it, like cancer, like asthma, like diabetes. There's a diagnosis code for that. So you tell me, how do you think people on crack cocaine, how does that affect their performance in school, right? Or in society or in learning? It's there's a limited amount of brain cells that we have, and the more that we waste on activities that we just discussed, the less you'll be able to use on activities that are productive, that matter, such as awareness about what is going on in the world, awareness about what is going on in your classrooms, a deeper understanding of what the teacher is talking about. And really, at the end of the day, you have to make the decision. You guys are the next generation, and you're the next group of adults. You'll have to make those decisions for yourself.
Okay.
First one is raising awareness, which is really admirable what you and your group are doing, Daria. It's
Thank
amazing.
you.
And so, and I'm not saying that because you're my daughter. I think this is a fantastic project, and I really hope that it will reach and touch a lot of people and open their eyes about different things
Thank you.
that I discussed tonight.
Mm-hmm. Um, all right, just kind of the final recap. I just want to talk about pickups because I know on screen time it says like pickups is the amount of times you just pick up your phone after a notification comes up. Um, do you have any like because I know every time a notification comes up on most teenagers' phone, if it's like a ding or if they see their phone light up, the immediate response is to go pick it up, see who texted them, see who Snapchatted them, who liked a post, etc., etc. Do you have any sayings or something we could put in our minds to say like don't go pick that up or don't text that person back, like wait a while? Because I know that to me and to a lot of people I know is the beginning of long hours spent on social media or just on the screen. So do you have any advice to resist that temptation to go pick it up and focus on the task at hand or just not have anything to do with your phone?
I mean, I think that if you're talking about during the online work, it's sort of like they're this very trying times, and it just is called discipline, right? If
Right.
you're in school, I don't think you're just allowed to look at your phones. People have to turn their alerts off, and you're not really able to constantly be checking your phone.
Right.
So put your phone outside of your room and
Okay.
do your work. Is it boring? Maybe. Welcome to the real life. You just
Yeah.
have to focus, get it done. At the end of the day, it just matters where you want to go, what kind of person you want to be, and how much do you want to know about what you're doing, how focused are you in it, right? My best suggestion is that because it's very tempting, put your phone in a different room while you're doing schoolwork.
Just get
For 2-3 hours, 1 to 2 hours, put your phone away. I mean, it's the advice I give to my own kids, and they just bring their phones to my room and put it there even when I'm not home. So again, they understand that this would have negative repercussion on their schoolwork. And at the end of the day, I've done my schooling, right?
Right.
So if I tell them to do it, it's because I think that is how they're going to be successful, because they have to focus on what they're doing. And too many activities going on at the same time, people can't focus.
Right.
And so again, it depends on what do you want out of your life. Do you want to just get by and just make it great? Do you really want to learn? Do you care about the deeper understanding? Again, as I say these things to you, some of them may be very boring and mundane, right? But I promise you, if any of you are interested in going to pretty decent colleges or getting an education or getting a good job, I don't think they're ever going to ask you how many hours did you spend on a social media per day.
Right.
I
There's
don't.
no
That's not one of
reward.
the criteria of
Yeah.
the questions that I ask the students when I'm interviewing them for university.
Okay. Well, on that
And I
note,
also want to tell you,
oh,
Daria, that when I read the applications for the students that really are very distinguished and they apply to some amazing institutions and get into those institutions if that's something you want to do, none of them talks about the amount of time they were on social media. They
right.
talk about their caring for humankind, what projects they did to make that happen. It's never too early to start, right? If you look at the people that are in office or follow careers of influential people, they started when they were very, very, very young adults. So
Right.
don't undermine that. You are the future. And you really have an obligation to make this world a better place for yourselves and for your children. And so it's not really asking to do anything to do me a favor or the parents a favor. That it's just the simple facts of life. When you're looking at an application, nobody tells me how many followers they have on a college application,
Right.
right?
Right.
And
Yep.
so maybe that could sort of have an eye-opening effect of it's important or not.
Okay, so we just really need to set our priorities straight and get out of our self absorbed bubble that social media always puts us in and get our priorities in check. Right?
Yes.
Yes.
And think with your heart, think about the community, think about the bigger goal, and think about what are you going to put on your job applications. And if it's not about the number of followers or the number of streaks, it probably doesn't matter.
Okay. Well, on that note, I'd like to thank you so much, Mom and Dr. Askar, for joining me today to talk about social media and its effects on teenagers. Thank you so much for your time. Thank you.
Thank you very much. It was nice to be here.
It was nice to
Hopefully, people
talk
will
to
watch
you.
our podcast.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye bye.